everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet this gorgeous Snow Flurries cowl. This is a cowl that we're going to stitch up in this lovely kind of open fan stitch. I'm going to be holding a very cozy piece of gray yarn and a little thread of silver to just kind of give it a little sparkle through. We're going to be using some lovely yarn I'm going to talk about in just a minute. Extra special thanks to Hobie for sending the yarn for this project. And our finished piece, it's very, as you can see, it's very generous. So it's a tall cowl, it's cozy, and I wanted to make this just really warm and festive looking. So our finished cowl has a circumference of about 30 inches. So it's going to give you some room, but still be nice and snug up around your neck. And I'm going to talk later in the video about how to change the dimensions if you need to do that. And our cowl is 14.5 inches tall. And again, I can give you the multiples and change the sizing, etc. So we're going to learn how to crochet a large rectangle, and then later we're going to seam it together. And then this will give you a lovely little piece for the cold, cold months ahead. So let's get started. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, a tape measure or ruler is super helpful to get the size and the width and the length that you need. We're going to be using a 6.5 millimeter K crochet hook. This is my Blue Furls Odyssey. If you'd like to get one for yourself, I'll put the link down below as well as a coupon code. For our yarn that we'll be using, I'm going to be using a yarn called Fluffy Day XL from Hobie. So special thanks to Hobie for sending me this yarn. I'm going to use 2 balls of this. This is the gray colorway. It's color 04. And I'm going to be using 306 yards of this because each one of these is 153 yards. So I'm going to use a total of 306 yards. This yarn is a 4 medium on the yarn weight scale, and they have it classified as a bulky yarn. So 306 yards of a bulky yarn of your choice. And as an option, this is completely optional, I'm going to be also holding a strand of this glittery yarn. It's very, very fine, so it's not going to change the hook size or the yarn weight. So a bulky yarn, anything you want. But I'm, as an option, going to be holding this strand as well of this glitter. So you can do that as well. This is called Diablo Glitter. And it's color 05. It's called Silver Glitter. And I'll put the links down below for all of this as well. But I wanted to give it a little bit of sparkle. It's a very like cozy, it's a brushed yarn, so it has like a cozy fuzzy look. And I thought that the sparkle through it would just make it look really kind of festive and seasonal. So I'm also going to be holding a strand of this. Now this is a little bit more yardage than this, so I can hold it throughout the whole project. And again, this is called Silver Glitter, and it doesn't add any more thickness to our yarn because it is a 0 lace weight yarn. So it's almost like holding a piece of thread. So just as an option, if you wanted to add some glitter, I'll be doing that as well. Okay, so I have my yarn and my other yarn, my little strand. So as you can see, it's really thin and it's not going to make much difference like I was explaining before. So if you've never held 2 strands together, all you do is just put them together like this, and you just act as if it's one strand. That's all. Some people like to tie a knot down at the bottom here just to keep it all straight. But once you do your chain, it'll, everything will kind of settle down. So we're going to take both of our strands. You can see the little bit of sparkle through, which I just love. And we're going to do a starting chain of 38. Now our multiple is 3 plus 2. So if you want to change the width of your piece, and you're not familiar with multiples, just make your starting chain 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 and so forth until you get the width that you want, and then add 2 more chains onto that. So 3 plus 2 is our multiple. So we're going to begin. We're holding both of our strands. We're going to put a slip knot on our hook. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop. Reach in with your hook. Bring up the loop and tighten. And then what we're going to do is just try and keep those strands that you're working with. And we're going to zoom way in so you can see our stitches here. Okay, so again, our starting chain is 38. So what we're going to do is to make a chain, wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, and 38. Okay, so here's our starting chain. If you're having trouble with tightness, just go up a hook size for your chain. You can go back down to the K hook for the rest of your project. So we have a nice width, and again, if you need to change that width, just do that multiple of 3 plus 2. For row 1, we're going to work a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So this loop here does not count. We're going to go 1 and 2 and work a single crochet in that second chain. So insert the hook into that second chain from the hook, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, and bring it through both loops, just like that. Then what we're going to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and then we're going to work a single crochet into the next chain. So go right into that second chain. Now yarn is a little fluffy, but I'm getting enough stitch definition to where we can see these chains. The little strand of glitter helps too, to kind of guide our eye through it. Then what we're going to do is repeat this all the way across what we just did. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 chains, and in the chain after that, work a single crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 chains, and in the chain after that, work a single crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and in the chain after that, work a single crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 chains, in the chain after that, work a single crochet. We're just doing this all the way across. You get a little bit more yarn here. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 chains, in the chain after that, work a single crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 chains, work a single crochet in the next chain. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 chains, work a single crochet in the next chain. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 chains, single crochet in the next chain. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 chains, work a single crochet in that next chain. We're nearing the end here. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 chains, single crochet in the next chain. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 chains, and in that very last chain, work a single crochet. Okay, so we've kind of set up our row here, and we're going to move on to row 2 next. Okay, so you'll just have like a series of loops. And just to give you a count, if you started with the same number of chains as me, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 loops across, okay? For row 2, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn. Now this chain 3 counts as one of our double crochets. So what we're going to do is in the base of that chain, you'll see that single crochet from the previous row. It looks like a little loop kind of down at the bottom of that chain. We're going to work a double crochet right into that stitch, okay? So wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into that stitch, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. Then what we're going to do is work a single crochet into this chain 3 space. Remember this chain 3 that we did? It created a big loop. We're going to work a single crochet right into that chain 3 space. So insert the hook into that chain 3 space, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. And then what we're going to do is work 3 double crochets into that single crochet. So in between the 2 loops, we have the single crochet stitch. You're going to work 3 double crochets into that single crochet stitch. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and 3 double crochet right into that single crochet stitch. Okay, so we're getting some nice open areas and some little fans here. Okay, then what we're going to do is, let me get a little bit more yarn here. We're going to work a single crochet once again into that chain 3 space. And then we're going to work 3 double crochets into that single crochet in between our loops. Same thing we just did. So 1, 2, and 3. Just like that. Then what we're going to do is, once again, work a single crochet. Let me get all my strands straightened out here. We're going to work a single crochet into that chain 3 space. Then we're going to work 3 double crochet into that single crochet stitch in between the 2 loops. So 1, 2, and 3. Then work a single crochet in that chain 3 space. Then work 3 double crochet into that single crochet stitch in between the loops. So 1, 2, and 3. Get a little bit more yarn here. Work a single crochet into that chain 3 space. 3 double crochet into that single crochet stitch. So 1, 2, and 3. Work a single crochet in that chain 3 space. 3 double crochet into that single crochet in between the loops. 1, 2, and 3. Then work a single crochet into the chain 3 space. 3 double crochet in that single crochet stitch. 1, 2, and 3. Work a single crochet into that chain 3 space once again. 3 double crochet in that single crochet stitch in between the 2 loops here. So 1, 2, and 3. Single crochet into that chain 3 space. Then work 3 double crochet into that single crochet stitch in between the 2 loops. So 1, 2, and 3. Work a single crochet into that chain 3 space. 3 double crochet into that single crochet stitch in between your loops. 1, 2, and 3. Single crochet into that chain 3 space. And then here's our last little bit here. So 3 double crochet into that single crochet in between the loops. 1, 2, and 3. Then here's our last chain 3 space of the row. Work a single crochet in that last chain 3 space, and then that single crochet at the end of the row, you can kind of see it's a little loop here. We're going to work 2 double crochets into that. So 1 and 2, and that will finish up the row. Okay, so here is row 2 all complete. We have some lovely little fans and some openings, and you can see the little peak of silver coming through. It looks very pretty. Okay, we're going to work on row 3 next, and then the rest of our project will be just repeating rows 2 and 3, 2 and 3, okay? So let's move on to row 3. What we need to do for row 3 is to chain 1 this time and turn. Then in that very first double crochet of the row, we're going to work, you can see it from the previous row, there was the turning chain, double crochet, double crochet. We're going to work a single crochet in that first double crochet from the previous row. So right there, insert the hook, bring up a loop, yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to work a single crochet in the centermost stitch of this first fan that we come to. So remember, in the previous row we made the fans with 3 double crochets. So you want to I kind of like to separate them and locate them. You have these side here from the chains from the previous row, and then you have these 3 double crochets. So you want to find the centermost double crochet of the fan, and then there is a stitch at the top of it, just a little loop. We're going to work a single crochet into that centermost stitch of the fan. Okay, so insert the hook, bring up a loop, yarn around hook, bring it through both loops, just like that. Okay, so we're going to alternate between creating fans in row 2, and then row 3 we're going to be creating these nice little openings. Okay, so then what we're going to do is chain 3 once again, 1, 2, 3. Hop over to the next fan, locate that centermost stitch, and work a single crochet right into the centermost stitch of that fan. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Hop over to the next fan, I kind of like to open it up and isolate that stitch so I can see it better. Work a single crochet in that centermost stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Hop over to the next fan, locate that centermost stitch, work a single crochet into the center of it, chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Hop to the next fan, locate that centermost stitch, work a single crochet. Let me get some of my yarn straightened out here. When you're working with 2 strands, sometimes it's a little fiddly. You have to kind of smooth it out as you go along. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Hop over to that next fan, locate that centermost stitch, and single crochet. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Hop to the next fan. We're going to find that middle stitch, work your single crochet right into the middle, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Hop to the next fan, work a single crochet in that center stitch once again, chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Next fan, centermost stitch, single crochet into that. And let me smooth out my glitter strand is folding up a little bit. There we go. Single crochet, chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Hop over to the next fan, locate that centermost stitch, work your single crochet into it. We just grab a little bit more yarn here. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Next fan, there's my middle stitch, work your single crochet right into that. All right, now we're getting towards the end here. So what we're going to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then what we're going to do is work a single crochet into the turning chain space from the previous row. So we have our little sort of half fan at the end of the row. Remember, we start in our rows with a little less than a full fan, and you can see if you kind of pull it apart here, we have our turning chain, and it creates a space. See how it's like a little opening right there? Work a single crochet right into that turning chain space, and row 3 is complete. So we can kind of straighten it all out, and you can see we're getting some really pretty stitches in here. If we zoom out, we can see a little bit better. So what you're going to do is keep going and repeating rows 2 and 3, 2 and 3 over and over and over again until your piece is as long as you would like it to be. So let's get started on the next row just to show you. So we're going to go back to row 2 now. So we're doing 2, 3, 2 and 3, 2 and 3. All right, so remember for row 2, we did a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and remember that counts as a double crochet. So we're going to work a double crochet right into the base there of that single crochet stitch. It's right at the bottom there. So work a double crochet. And then what we're going to do is work a single crochet into the chain 3 space, just like we did before. I'm just getting you started again. And then you see that single crochet again. It's a little bit easier to see when you go beyond that point because it's, actually I zoomed out. Let me zoom back in. You can see it, it's right at the top of that fan. So it's really easy to see in this row. So you're going to work your 3 double crochets into that single crochet. Same thing we did before. So 1, 2, and 3. Single crochet into the chain 3 space, and so forth, okay? So you can see that our fans are starting to sort of stack with some nice little decorative openings there, okay? So keep going, repeating rows 2 and 3, 2 and 3, over and over and over again, and when we rejoin, we'll finish up and seam it and create a lovely little cowl. Just coming up to the end of the row on our last row here. And now the crochet part of our piece is complete, and I just wanted to show you how beautiful it looks. The sparkles are subtle, but they're still there. They look very festive. And the bottom edge, we ended on one of our fan rows. I just wanted to point out we're ending on a fan row because if you remember when we started our piece down here, we have like a chain along the bottom. So we want it to match because remember we're doing like the fan row and then the chain row and then the fan row. So we're kind of like alternating where we have the chain row here at the bottom and then we have fans at the top. So we want it to blend as much as possible. So what we want to do now, we're going to seam this together. Now we could crochet it together, but because this is like a chain along the bottom, I feel like we would have more control if we seam it. You can slip stitch seam it if you prefer. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out a little bit of yarn. Now I have just a smidge of yarn. I don't have a ton, but I do have plenty to seam with. Oh, and as a side note, this length from the starting edge all the way up, this is measuring at 30 inches. Now before you seam it, put the ends together and try it on so that you know it's gonna be the size that you need and the drape that you need. If you need it to be bigger, a bigger circumference, simply work more rows of the pattern, okay? So let's get, I would say, if I had to estimate, about a yard of yarn. You don't need any more than that. So we're gonna pull some yarn out and give it a snip. And really a yard is probably like way too much. And then what we're going to do, but I like to have a little bit more than, instead of not having enough, because then you'd have to tie a new piece on and everything. So the last thing we're going to do with our hook is to wrap the yarn around the hook and pull that tail through. Okay, just pull it all the way through and then securely tighten it down. Then what we're going to do is the side when you worked your fans that faced you is the front of our piece. See how that looks different than the inside? See how the inside looks a little bit more bubbly? It's kind of the back of it. We're going to get our tail here that we created. Grab your tapestry needle, and then we're going to turn it so that it's inside out. So the side that's faced away while you worked these fan rows, the inside of it, and see how it looks different? And this side, this is the front. We're going to turn the front on the inside. So we're going to seam it inside out. Okay, now I'm just going to take care of this tail really, really quick before we start seaming, just so it's not in our way. I gave it a fresh cut. That will help me thread my needle a little bit easier. And then we're going to weave this end in. We want to stay on the inside out part. Okay, so go along the back of that. Now the yarn I'm using is a brushed yarn. See how fuzzy it looks? It's very forgiving. So it blends very well. But if you're using a smoother strand, make sure your finish work is nice and neat. Mine will sort of disappear. Okay, I'm just going to come back in the other direction with my tail. Pull that tight, get it all straightened out, and just snip it with your scissors. Okay, now let's get to seaming. Now this might be a little tricky because we have, like I said, we have this chain row here and we have this scalloped edge. It's different, from the edges are different from one another, but we're gonna just be very careful and go nice and slow and keep everything nice and lined up. So I'm going to do another fresh cut, especially with 2 strands like this. The fresh cut really helps. Thread your needle. And let me spin this around and kind of bring it forward. I'm going to get this tail out of the way. And then you're going to hold your edges together and you're going to seam them the best you can. On these chain areas, just go in the middle of a chain, okay? So let's do the corner first just to get ourselves situated here. And we're going in both layers. It's like a sandwich. You're just going to pull your tail through like that. And we're going to do a whip stitch. So basically that's like a spiral through your work. It's nice and invisible. And we're going to go a couple inches in, and then we're going to check our seam first. Before we get all the way to the other side and don't like the way it looks, we're going to go a couple inches in and then check it. It's much easier to pull out if you have to. Okay, so try to keep your edges lined up the whole time you're working. You could use some clothespins or some stitch markers if that helps, if you find that it's shifting a little bit. Or just kind of hold it. But we're just going in to both layers with our tail, okay? So let's do a few of these stitches together, and then we'll look at our handiwork and decide if our seam looks great or if we need to start over, okay? And let's do a few more together here. And again, we're just keeping things nice and lined up, nice and neat. We're using both strands of the yarn that we used before, so everything blends. And again, my yarn is very forgiving, so it is going to look very much blended in. All right, so I got a couple inches in here. Let's flip it around. Just kind of set your needle off to the side, flip it over, and it looks great. Now, the other thing you want to keep in mind when you're seaming is see how my fans are stacked on top of one another. Now I didn't get that far, but I have at least one fan to show you. When you wear this, your eye needs to travel in a straight line, and you want to make sure your fans are nice and lined up on that seam. So this is the one edge, this is the other edge. See how they're nice and lined up? We want to make sure that that stays lined up so that visually it just blends together, okay? So go ahead and seam all the way across, making sure you keep those fans in line. And if you're having trouble, look at the one fan, look at the other fan, and just kind of like pinch them together while you seam, okay? And you can kind of keep it in line, then move to the next fan and kind of clamp it down while you seam, okay? So we're going to continue across, and when we get towards the end, we'll rejoin and finish up our cowl. All right, just seaming that very last stitch. And I like to come around the edge a little bit just so we don't have a dip in our work. Sometimes when you bring two pieces together, I like to do like a bridging stitch almost so that we don't have like a dip in the two pieces. All right, and then the last one you do, go in there and pull it almost all the way through, and then send your needle through that loop and you can tie it down. Now while this is still threaded, go ahead and weave in the ends. So just go right, and it's still inside out, so everything is positioned perfectly. So everything is positioned perfectly. It's already inside out, needle's already threaded, and we're just going to pull this through. We've already woven in the other ends, so we are good to go. So I'm going to come back in the other direction to kind of lock that tail into place. And then grab your scissors and give it a little snip. Okay, now we can turn this right side out, and I like to just straighten up my seam. You can see everything's nice and lined up. We're going to turn this right side out, and our seam, just double check your seam, looking great. And our cowl is complete, and it looks so warm and cozy and elegant. I just love gray with silver. It looks so pretty. And so our cowl is complete. So that is how you crochet the Snow Flurries cowl. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.